This video is going to show you the responses of judicial nominees when they are questioned about the attacks on Israel on October 7th, 2023. Make sure you stick around and watch this whole video. And as always, let's talk about it after.
Judge Kiel, let me just start with you. You're involved, I think, with a group called the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Have I got that right?
I did a couple cases with them, Senator. It's probably been 15 years at least since I did any work with them.
Okay, fair enough. Have you done some fundraising for them? Do I understand that correctly, or am I misinformed?
I don't believe I've ever done any fundraising for them.
Well, let me just ask you about, I'm curious because of some things they've said recently, so just let me ask you about this and you can give me your viewpoint on it. Earlier this month, right after the attacks on Israel, the AALDEF said that it stands in solidarity with Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim communities, and went on to help push out on social media a toolkit, that's their word, for student protesters that we've seen on our campuses, including resources, talking points, and chants for students who are pressing to end the genocide in Gaza, which of course we've seen invoked by those who are calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. So let me just give you a chance to respond to that. What's your view on that? How do you read this? I mean, how do you read this statement from this group? Just let me give you the opportunity to respond to that. How about that?
Senator, I have not had any involvement with the group for a very, very long time, and my only involvement was representing restaurant workers and wage and hour claims. I'm not familiar with that statement from ALDEF, so I'm not sure that I could comment on that.
Fair enough. Let me just ask you, I assume that doesn't represent your views, your personal views, the position that the group has taken here with regard to the attacks on Israel.
As I said, Senator, I'm not sure in what context or what that statement was. I haven't read the full statement, so I can't really tell you whether
Well, how about this? Why don't I give you an open-ended chance to say, with regard to the attacks on Israel, the threats on Jewish Americans, what we're seeing on our college campuses, where we have some student groups out there saying from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, which of course is a call for the elimination of the state of Israel. Why don't you just tell us what your views are on that?
Senator, it's a very complicated issue. I haven't really studied it. It is a terrible situation, what is going on there. And Senator, that's all I can really say what my personal views are.
Well, let me put it to you this way, would you condemn those who are who say things like from the river to the sea, which is a call for the elimination of the state of Israel and frankly, the killing of Jews in the Middle East? I mean, would you condemn that?
Senator, as I said, no, it's a very complicated situation. It's a tragic situation. I haven't studied the situation. I don't know how I can answer that today, Senator. Because
go ahead.
As a judge and the role that I would be playing, my personal views of things would not come into consideration, certainly, Senator, and I would keep an open mind for all matters that come before me, and that's the way that I would approach the job of a judge.
I totally understand that, and I'm not asking you to comment on any case. I just am I wanted to give you a chance to respond to this group statement, but let me just see if I can get you to understand your views here. Just with regard to the attacks on Israel and the violence in this country against Jewish Americans, you condemn all of that. You have no truck with that. You would say that we should condemn all of that explicitly, I assume, right? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, you tell me.
Yes, Senator. Any violence here in this country against Jewish people should be condemned.
Okay, and these protests that we've seen where people are explicitly calling for the elimination of the state of Israel, we had Jewish students at Cooper Union in New York who were barricaded inside a library for hours while pro-Hamas protesters banged on the doors, shouted at them, screamed at them. You condemn all of that, I assume.
I'm not familiar with that situation, Senator. I know nothing about it.
Are you familiar with the campus protests that have happened all across the country? The Senate's addressed this in a resolution that passed unanimously condemning that rhetoric of genocide, frankly, against the Jews. I'm just trying to get you to say, I hope, that you condemn that, you think that's wrong, you're against it.
100%, Senator. I would condemn the genocide of Jewish people.
Okay. Mr. Fonzone, let me very quickly, because I'm almost out of time now. There are lots of other senators who want to ask you questions, but I just want to ask you quickly about some work, and we follow up in written questions, but some work you've done for the People's Republic of China, different entities. You did some work for Huawei, I think, in 2018, for the Ministry of Commerce of the Chinese government, and then for the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019 and 2020, another governmental entity. That was right during the Hong Kong protests. My question to you is, and I'll give you some more for the record, but my question for you is, did you advise that council during that time of the Hong Kong protests on messaging, on what was happening there? I mean, tell us about your work.
No, Senator, thank you for the question. I know this is an issue of interest to the Senate. It came up in my last confirmation process as well. I think in general, my practice in private practice was focused on advising companies on American law and how American law worked. For the three entities you just mentioned, I did a small amount of work at the request of other partners, much of it many years ago. None of that work has affected my ability to give objective advice in my current role at the Office of Director of National Intelligence, and none of it would if I was fortunate enough to be confirmed at OLC.
This is my last thing, Mr. Chairman. Just last question. But did you in 2019, 2020, at the height of those protests in Hong Kong, which the government brutally repressed, I saw it with my own eyes, did you give the Trade Council any kind of advice involving issues related to those protests?
No, the advice, and I obviously can't get into privileged information, but the advice we gave was, the work I did was basically on advising them on issues related to my practice, which is around privacy and cybersecurity.
I'm still digesting how I feel about this video. I will say that it's pretty weird to say that you don't know a lot about the thing that has probably been in the news the most ever since the 7th of October. You have college students who are proclaimed liberation fighters, protesters, humanitarian rights activists, who are actively in person and online, spending absurd amounts of time devoted towards this cause. If you are a judicial nominee, I'm going to say that you probably know what's going on in Israel and Palestine. You probably know what's going on. I would say it's a little bit naive to not want to talk about that when it's something that's probably really important, given the fact that you're a nominee for the role of being in the court of law, where we're seeing it actually unfold right now under the Trump administration for people who are advocating for more intifadas and leading movements across college campuses such as Columbia to incentivize more students to call for the destruction for the state of Israel as if it's the right thing to do. We need people who are going to be the leaders in the court, in the judicial system, to combat everything that is going on to the Jewish students at every university and college in America that have nothing to do with what is going on in Israel. These are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, or grad students that are just studying something in school. Many of them haven't even been to Israel before. What is their connection to the war? Just because they're Jewish or they're an ally of Israel does not make them an accessory to this fight that you're so passionate about. That's not how the world works. In fact, that logic goes right to what is happening, for example, in Syria. At the moment, as I'm making this video, the Druze community in southern Syria is being slaughtered. Is being slaughtered because of the regime that overthrew Assad, is now making their way, as they did months ago after the Alawite minority, ethnic minority group, to the Druze, who are in southern Syria, who don't have that much ammunition right now, and are being butchered. And they are being butchered simply because they're guilty by association for not being radicals like the regime that's doing the work to them. So these college students in Colombia are going to treat these Jewish students at Columbia, the college students protesting against Israel, are going to find any Jewish student with a yarmulke and a kippah on their head, or those supporting Israel, and they're going to treat them the same way just because. If you go to an anti-Israel protest and you say that I'm here, you're immediately targeted, and you might not have ever been to the Middle East. This is extremism. The anti-Israel protests, it's extreme. These chants are extreme. They drive extreme behavior. You have to just watch what's happening. I've been to them. I've been the eye in the hurricane at them. If there's no police, if there's no security, they will do anything that they want to do. I'm telling you right now. There were a couple times when I was in DC that I questioned the safety of myself and the group that I was with. Extremism, people. And you cannot tell me without having something that was already instigated that you have people, sorry about that you have people who are trying to incite violence at these pro-Israel rallies, trying to incite violence against people who don't agree with them just because that's what they're told to do. The pro-Israel rallies are not given instructions by the people who organized where they want to meet, that if any of these protesters come up, to cover your mouth, don't answer questions, get in their face, and ask them to go die. Because that's what they do to me. In fact, I go to the pro-Palestinian protests and I'm trying to speak with them, and they don't engage, they don't answer questions. They say that I'm killing babies, so I'm guilty by association because I came there to ask questions and have meaningful dialogue with people. Extremism, ladies and gentlemen. It is all right in front of you. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time.
If you want to continue the conversation, you can support my work for free. Discord does not cost a thing. It is the best way to connect with me and others who are seeking the truth. The link is in the description. But if you want to take it one step further, my Patreon gives you access to the Israel you don't see, uncovering the untold stories of what mainstream media does not show you. The link is in the description, and it helps me to continue this work. Or if you're just looking to help this, PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee is a really easy way to support me. This channel, this work does not happen without all of you. Thank you. I love you. I'll see you next time.